welcome to this special episode of the Year in Review series. As you already know, in this Year in Review series, I'm doing one video each day for the last 22 days of the year, and we are traveling through the memories of how the year has been for us and are also looking at some of the insights that we can draw from it so that we have a great year ahead. In that spirit of traveling down memory lane, this special episode is around travel. In an earlier episode, around year in the life of students, I spoke about my son who got admitted into an engineering college this year. He joined the BTech IT course at VIT Vellore, and I stay in Delhi. And the distance between Delhi and Vellore is around 2100 kilometers. As we were making arrangements for the travel, an idea dawned upon us. Instead of flying down to Chennai or Bangalore and then driving down from there to Vellore, why don't we just drive down from Delhi to Vellore itself? It sounds crazy, but not for us. I am no stranger to these road trips. I've done round trips to Bangalore and beyond earlier. I have driven down from Delhi multiple times to Gujarat and to the westernmost part of the country. So with that thought, we jumped into it and we did the mother of all road trips, at least as far as my experiences are concerned, and we managed to do 7,500 kilometers in about 26 days. And I was the one behind the wheels 100% of the time. So it was really exciting. And while one approach is to share images and pictures and post it on platforms like Instagram, if you know me by now, by looking at what I've been doing in the previous episode, you know that I'm going to get some takeaways out of this. So be ready for those. Here are 5 takeaways from my mother of all road trips to Vellore and beyond. The first one is around what really constitutes a holiday, a vacation, or a break. I had been in employment for many years until earlier this year, and there was a set pattern to how I have been taking holidays during all of these years, at least in the recent decade or so. As my children were going to school, one of the most convenient times to take a holiday was in the month of March, immediately after the conclusion of their exams. And the way the school calendar was structured, it gave us just about 7 or 9 days between the end of the exams and the commencement of activities relating to the next session. So most of my holidays in these years have been in that 7 or 9 day window. 1 week of a break and another weekend attached to it. In the maximum cases, 1 or 2 days beyond that. And what typically used to happen in these vacations is that you would start getting the feel of a place, and by the time you really got into it, your mind started running back to work and to the fact that your vacation was about to come to an end. And that was it. It was back to business as usual, it was back to the grind. So these sort of vacations only just enabled us to touch the tip of the iceberg when it comes to experiencing a place. And I did not realize it for all of these years. We had good fun, we had great times, we built memories which are even fresh today in my mind. But if I compare that with the kind of break or the kind of immersion that I was able to do in the culture of a place during these 26 days, it cannot be compared. In my view, each and every type of holiday has a certain purpose. There are short weekend or long weekend sort of breaks which are just that. They give you a break from the monotony of work. Annual vacations, which may be a week or 2 weeks, can help you rejuvenate and come back recharged. But what these longer breaks are able to do has to be really experienced. These are not things that you can experience even if I share my travelogue in great amount of detail with you, which by the way I am not going to do because that will make for many episodes. It cannot be condensed in only one episode. So in this episode we will restrict to 5 takeaways. The first one of which I have just covered, which is the difference between a short break, an annual vacation, and a long break, which helps you reset the compass of your life, which helps you get immersed into the culture of a place and do much more, which we are going to talk about in our next takeaway. The next takeaway that I have is that even if you take a break, you will realize that nothing breaks without you. In our corporate lives, we often behave like Atlas, or at least think like Atlas, that the weight of the whole world is resting on our shoulders. If it were not for us, then the world would come falling down. Trust me, the world will not come falling down. It was there in existence before you were around, and it will continue to be in existence, and it will do fairly well even when you are not around, at work or otherwise. So nothing breaks without you. Taking a break or a vacation for 1 week or so does not make you realize this. But when I took a break for 26 straight days, I realized that nothing changes, nothing breaks without you. The world goes about its business as usual. Of course, when I came back from the 26-day break, I was recharged, I reoriented myself and my energies in various directions. And the impact that was created as a result of all of these initiatives far outweighed the loss of productivity, if any, that could have happened in those 26 days. But since we are talking about travel and experiences, let's not get too much into the productivity debate, at least in this episode. So, moving on to the third point, which is about experiences and about history. I had the great opportunity to visit a lot of historical places in South India. These destinations included Tanjore or Thanjavur in Tamil Nadu and Rameshwaram as well, as also Hampi in Karnataka. These are all places which have an immense amount of history. Rameshwaram is the site from where Ram Setu was built, connecting India to Sri Lanka. Once you go down to that place, you drive down that 15-kilometer stretch where you have the Indian Ocean on one side and the Bay of Bengal on the other. And if you see this point on Google Maps, you can literally standing there visualize how somebody in ancient times may have created those 30 kilometers bridge that would connect the mainstream Indian landmass to the Sri Lankan island. These kind of things have to be experienced to be believed. One of the other great experiences I had was in Hampi. Spending a few days in Hampi transports you to another era, and you can literally see for yourself what life might have been like in those times. Many of those elements of what constituted life in those ancient times is still very well preserved, and not much is left to the imagination. You have a river flowing by, a temple next to it, a hall for conducting marriage ceremonies. The temple has musical pillars in it which emit musical notes. And you can literally imagine how people may have been getting married in the ceremony hall. The musicians may not even have required instruments and they could just use the pillars to create music. And then there was a courtyard for people to be observing the ceremonies. And right opposite that, there is a marketplace where even today you can find a very long platform on both sides of which you would have bullock carts with people coming and setting their shop there so that the visitors could walk right through that long corridor. These are things which you can see and touch on your own and experience the history, which brings me to the inevitable comparison of how we learn history when we are in school. I'm sure the details of these empires that built many of these places that I visited were covered in several lessons of our history books, but they never sounded as exciting as when we were actually able to go and experience the place. So, as I mentioned in an earlier episode around the need for STEM subjects to be taught in an experiential way, that science, technology, engineering, and maths, the same thing is true for history as well. History needs to be experienced, needs to be felt. You need to be immersed inside of that history to really understand how is it that life may have been in those times. Ultimately, history is not just about the architecture, it is about the people, their lifestyle, their culture, their values, the aspirations, their thought process in those times. But these are not things that we really think about because we do not relate to it. So, traveling back from history to the current times, I have done many of these long road trips over the last decade, and one of the key observations that I have is the infrastructure. The excellent infrastructure and the condition of the roads is what encouraged us to keep going day after day for 26 days at a stretch as we traveled 7,500 kilometers. It would not have been possible if we were traveling on shabby roads with potholes. There were 2 or 3 bad stretches, really bad ones, which we did encounter, but most of these cases were where state highways were being converted into national highways. If we need to give an impetus to tourism, we really need to have the infrastructure in place, not just the physical infrastructure in terms of the roads, but also the soft infrastructure that tourists need in all of these places. And this brings me to the fifth point, which is around religious tourism. If you go to any small town and inquire about the tourist places that one can see in the vicinity, most often you will find the answer will be around religious places or temples or other such monuments. Despite that, not much has historically been done in terms of making the experience of religious tourism a memorable one. But this aspect is changing very fast. One of the rare good experiences that I remember of religious tourism from more than a few years ago is the visit to the Somnath temple for various reasons. Number one, it was extremely clean. Number two, things were very well organized there. And number three, there were no touts or people chasing us. In fact, when we entered into the temple premises, somebody came to us with folded hands and explained to us what the layout of the temple is, where we can find things that we may need, and if there is anything else that we may need, they would be at our service. And with that, the person left politely. This is in stark contrast to other places where people hound you. Thankfully, there is a big impetus on religious tourism, and some of these factors, which are very irksome from the perspective of tourists, are also being worked upon. Once things become organized, streamlined, and you know that you are going to a place which will give you a good experience, and on top of that, you will also meet your religious or spiritual goals, then what could be better than that? And speaking of religious tourism, there is a religious circuit which is considered to be the Moksha circuit. In other words, it is believed that you attain salvation if you complete this circuit. This Moksha circuit consists of three temples. The first one is the Tirupati Balaji temple in Tirumala. The second one is the Padmavati temple, which is near Tirupati, just on the outskirts of Tirupati. And the third one is the Lakshmi temple in Kolhapur. As luck would have it, we were able to complete this Moksha circuit within this one single journey itself. This was another feature of our trip where we did not have things planned out. We would just take the car out and move in a particular direction wherever and whenever the destination would be exciting enough for us. Not only did we not know the next destination, we also did not have an end time to our travel. I'm a strong believer in the fact that whatever happens, happens for a reason. For instance, I was not even aware that Moksha circuit was a thing. It is only along the way, on our way back, maybe near Hampi or thereabouts, that we realized that this is a thing and we might as well go to Kolhapur and complete the Moksha circuit. And the way I look at it, the way I am planning and configuring the next phase of my life, it is going to be all about enabling and empowering and transforming the lives of people around me. So, if I'm able to do even a fraction of the things that I'm aspiring to do to bring about a change, to make education more meaningful, more aligned to people's goals and objectives, and as a tool for truly transforming the lives of people rather than as a necessary evil that one has to go through as a gate pass to success, I think I would have achieved my moksha or salvation. With that, I hope you enjoyed some of the takeaways and many of these pictures that were running around in the background, and it gave you a vicarious feel of what this 26-day trip was all about. And last but not the least, I would like to leave you with this message that road safety is extremely important. In fact, during the entire trip, I did not get a single speeding ticket. That may reset some of the visuals that you may have had in your mind about this 7,500 kilometer road trip. If you do enjoy road trips, or if you just generally enjoy going on a break, going on a vacation, do share your thoughts in the comment section below. And before you leave, do not forget to like and subscribe to this channel. And even though I've spoken about my travel, but this journey will continue as we look at more and more of these elements of the year in review as we count down to 23. See you in the next episode.